Okay, this is my final video for the week, and in it I'm going to explain a little bit about the assignment that you're asked to do this week. This is the one and only assignment for this week. Don't forget that I will be out of town for most of this week traveling to this conference here at the 19th Century Studies Association, where I'm actually going to present at this, oops, that's not very interesting. Where I'm actually going to present on this on Welcome to Sanditon and Austin, because obviously Austin was publishing in the 19th century, but this particular conference is about memory and commemoration, and so I'm going to be talking about how in the 21st century things like the Transmedia Web series Welcome to Sanditon has been influenced by the 19th century, and how 21st century technology changes how we experience Austin's historical telling of the time in modern day. So do know that I'm thinking about this subject as deeply and as much as you guys are, and that there's actually a career out there where you can talk about things like this in the future. So for your assignment, you'll notice that I've updated the syllabus here. This is the syllabus is on Moodle with this assignment. It's explained here, and then again listed on our WordPress site. You'll see here that I've again been mucking around in here. I've cleaned up the menu a little bit. Here is the Sanditon text by Jane Austen, then your first assignment, and then you'll find your second assignment here. Before I get into that, I do want to remind you that those of you who have stuff under this particular page where I have listed things that need to be cleaned up, once you clean it up and move the information that's in here from this page to where it belongs, please do blow away these posts, because the longer I see these sitting here, the more I'm going to be under the impression that you haven't fixed it yet. So Austin Terry, VG Knight, Rami Savage, A.B. Montier, Franzi 9, Shauna Coffrey, Ackling 7, Simburner, Franzi again. Pay attention. And in Daning, make sure that you do clean up this page. I want to see everything gone here from here as soon as I can. All right. Now, if we go back to the actual assignment for this week, the one and only assignment you have this week, yay! I figured the reading was so intense this week that you deserved a little bit of break, but nevertheless, we have to continue building our website. So I want us to use this opportunity to talk about convergence and cyborgs and their impact on digital storytelling. So for this assignment, you will create a new page and then link it below. Follow the same pattern as last time. First name, last name, title of your piece. And then this time, please alphabetize your entries by the first letter of your first name. One of you went back and cleaned up our page for McLuhan, Lost in Austin, Reality TV, and alphabetized it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your OCD. And so whoever did that, I do appreciate it. You didn't leave your name behind, but I can tell you did the work, and I do appreciate that. So for this assignment, you will write at least 2 paragraphs in which you A, explain how convergence works as you access your favorite transmedia story, and then in parentheses says review Digital Storytelling Chapter 3 and the 130 Video 1 for my explanation of convergence and reminder definition of transmedia. A lot of us are participating in and joining in transmedia storytelling and don't even realize that we're doing it because we didn't know the terminology beforehand. But most of us, the entertainment that we consume does exist across at least 3 platforms. And again, remember that those platforms don't all have to be digital, but at least one has to be digital and at least one has to be interactive. So it was interesting is that these days, most of what we consume is digitized and is interactive. So start thinking more broadly about what transmedia storytelling is, because something as simple as your favorite movie that you watch on Netflix. I know when I was younger and I had lots of time, I had movies that I would watch over and over and over again. And something like Netflix makes that easier. And it's interactive because you can review it, you can comment on it, you can share it, you can do lots of different things that actually allows you to participate in the medium to various degrees. Some types of participation are more limited than others. So I do encourage you to push yourself to think about this category widely, but also to try to think of what transmedia series that you're watching or that you've enjoyed in the past that really pushes these boundaries. Not all of us are going to be able to come up with that kind of example, but if you can, it will bode well for you. So also, B, your second paragraph, you should explore how Haraway's definition of cyborgs, and remember, we are all cyborgs, and the homework economy have influenced the workers, writers, directors, costume designers, etc., involved in the creation of that transmedia story. Now, I don't expect you to do a bunch of research, but I want you to just start thinking about how the homework economy under all this digital technology, how that impacts the people who create the entertainment that we consume. Obviously, Jane Austen lived in a very different time, and I always kind of like to think about the past in order to help me to think about the future. So Jane Austen worked in a different time where there weren't telephones, there weren't constant interruptions from her publisher. She would have to write a letter to her publisher and then wait, a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or more, to get a reply back from him. Now, what kind of conditions do our writers, directors, and costume designers on the entertainment that we love today, how are they impacted by digital technology? Also, remember Jane Austen, when she was writing, she could write down whatever she wanted. I mentioned this before, she could dress a character in rags, or she could dress them in the highest fashions, the most expensive clothing. And there was absolutely no limitations on her other than her imagination and the words that she knew that she would write down on the page. Today's writers, directors, and costume designers are under a very different situation. They have to work in a visual and aural, which basically means has sound, medium. So, what do they have to think about when they're providing for us? What about copyright, publishing for the music that they want to use, or the costumes that they want to design, or the kind of characters that they want to represent? What kind of actors do they have to hire? Where do they get the money from in order to hire these people? So again, you don't have to do research. I'm not asking you to go do a research paper. I'm asking you to think critically about and reference some key details from your series, like what kind of actors are in your medium or your transmedia story that you pick. Are they unknowns? Are they known quantities? What do they look like? What are they wearing? Where do they go? Where do they live? Again, Jane Austen could write down that a character lived in a hut or that lived in a stately palace. And there were no limitations on her other than her imagination. When you're dealing in a visual medium, you have to think about, do I have access to a castle? Or do I only have access to my house? And, how those decisions and limitations and opportunities shape what shows up in our entertainment. So finally, don't forget to post in Moodle on the assignment link, the link to the page that you created. Again, to the page that you created, I need a link directly back to your page because it takes a lot of work if you don't provide me with that link for me to find what it is that you've done. Or, because possibly you've put it in the wrong place or something along those lines. And so this is just like a CYA move. And CYA is short for cover your ass. If you provide me a link to your work, then there's no excuse for why I can't grade it or where I can't find it. And then we don't have to have a big back and forth trying to figure it out. So just always provide a link to the page that you created. And then 2, a short but thoughtful reflection in which you cite specific examples of what you learned by completing the assignment. So basically what I'm asking you for each and every week is for you to put up information that on the WordPress site that talks about your observations or your explanations of a certain topic. And then in Moodle, then you reflect on what you've learned. So they should be very different. One is, okay, hey, I noticed that in my web series there are limitations on directors because, or on this particular director because he or she needed to raise probably this amount of money in order to put these kinds of sets into this particular piece, and you would list specific examples of there's a Louis Vuitton bag, and so you have to have the money for the Louis Vuitton bag. And then in your reflection piece on WordPress, you would talk about, either the research that you did or the thought that went into it where you hadn't noticed possibly these kinds of decisions before, or on how being a cyborg, that you didn't realize that it changed the way our storytelling went, or you could say, I've already thought deeply about this, I already knew this, I've already been doing research on this, but this gave me an opportunity to reflect on it. There's a variety of ways you can do it, but one should be, and on WordPress should be your conclusions, and on Moodle should be a reflection on what the assignment either did or did not achieve for you, or any difficulties that you came across while doing it. Okay? All right. Well, good luck, and I will be talking to you, I guess, next week.